Hi, and welcome to Spytec GPS. My name is TJ Chastain. I'm our product evangelist here at the team. And today what we're going to be doing is taking a high-level look and doing a quick demo of our entire product. We're going to go through all the features and all the sections of both our web app and mobile app. I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to use each one of these features. Now, it will be a high-level demo, so we're not going to dive into every little detail, but definitely reach out to our sales team and contact us to get more of those details and dig into the nitty-gritty of every single feature. Okay, so getting us started, I want to take a look at our web application. Now, when I say web application, I mean it is browser-based. You go to a web address, which you will have on all of your paperwork, and you sign in to the account on a computer. You can do it on mobile, but with mobile, we prefer the web application. One great way to think of this web app is it's more of your admin side of things. It's going to be the bigger sweeping settings that you set once or twice and then you can leave alone. You don't have to be in here all the time. Now, it is fully capable to be used as the main way of monitoring your assets, vehicles, or whatever you happen to be tracking, but you don't get the full flavor day-to-day approach on the web application. Now, right away, this is the landing page. This is a demo account. As you can see, I've got trackers all over the US here. And the first thing you're seeing here on the landing page are a couple of key features that I want to touch on. Number one is the biggest, most dominant feature, and that's the main map. So the main map always shows your tracker icons in the most recent known location. That's a big, big key here when you're using Spytec GPS. And that's because that is always reflected no matter when that last update was. You may have a tracker that has been deactivated and pulled from commission for 6 months. It's still going to show you where it is on the map at that last known location. So you can always get that quick, big, broad picture of what's going on. Now, if we zoom in to Los Angeles, where we've got a cluster of trackers, you can see that as they get closer, you can get them a little more spread out, a little bit more in line where you can see all of them, whereas if we're zoomed all the way out, they kind of cluster together to save some of that space. Now, if we click into a specific tracker, it's going to show you some detailed information, such as where it is, when it last updated, the longitude and latitude, and that last update time and date stamp. This is an interesting way to dig into this detailed information. Also at the bottom here, it shows you what the IMEI of the tracker is. And each device has its own unique IMEI. So no matter what you name them, that IMEI will always be unique. So as you can see, we've got that detailed view. But here on the left side, we've got these tracker cards. And what that's doing is that's giving you more at-a-glance visibility into the current status, the connection status, and the location of all of your devices. And as you can see, we can scroll through and see these locations of each one of these units. And if we click on one of our trackers, it will take us to that tracker's location right here on the main map and pull up that detailed card on the map. So again, this is a quick way to get an overview of these trackers without having to look at each one individually per se. Now, what you can also see here is the connection and battery status. So for instance, if we take a look at this device, which happens to be right here on my desk with me, you can see it does not have GPS signal. That's what that arrow means. But it does have cellular signal and it does have battery life. That's because I've taken it indoors to do some further testing. But it is it's very handy to be able to see, like, oh, it doesn't have GPS. I need to take it outside so it can get that signal. So another feature here that is very handy, especially if you're dealing with even more trackers than I am. I've got 10 on this account. But if you're up there with 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 trackers, you might need to very quickly filter down and see a specific one. Well, up here in our search bar, if we start typing, I'm going to just search Ford, for instance, and it's going to bring up both of my trackers that have the name Ford in the naming convention. So that's really handy. So if you utilize those naming conventions, which, by the way, we can search via the name, the description, and I believe the IMEI number as well on these devices. So there are multiple ways to be able to get to what you want to do. One great tip that I often give people is when you're naming your trackers, if you name them by something consistent, so let's say your operation has different regions where you're managing people in the southwest of town, the northwest of town, you can name it Northwest Tracker number 57, Truck number 43. And then when you search northwest, all of the devices in that same area will appear. You can scroll through and see their locations and navigate to them if you need to. You can also filter from up here in the right corner by moving, stopped, online and offline, battery statuses, and charging or plugged in. So again, that's just going to give you more ways to dig in and narrow down this initial view. That's one of the things that we really strive for at Spytec GPS, is that simplicity of being able to streamline data so you can quickly see only what is going to help you at that given moment. And that searching ability and the filtering ability is one way that we like to do that. Now, up here at the top, you can see we've got 3 tabs: trackers, which we're on now, activity, and boundaries. So I want to go through these 3 tabs. We talked about trackers. Well, if I click on activity, that's going to show us these trip and stop cards. So GPS devices, the way that our software categorizes it, are always on a trip, which is a period of time where the tracker is moving, or they're on a stop, which is a period of time where the tracker is not moving. And those events, when one ends and the next one starts, they get correlated into a card here. So I'm actually going to pick just trips. I'm going to select my main test unit, and we're going to hit apply. So if we scroll down and we find, here's a good one. So this trip card is going to be a summary of an event that happened, I believe, last night. And you can see it's a total mileage covered. We can see the device. We can see the starting and ending time. We can see the starting and ending address, which is incredibly useful as well. But it's a really interesting way to get a quick look at a lot of information that's going on. Then if you hit view in map, it's going to zoom us in and show us the path that was taken and what that exact trip was. Now, this device has an update frequency of 5 seconds, so each one of these blue dots represents that tracker's position every 5 seconds as it moved through this area of Los Angeles. So if you need to go back and take a look at what your vehicles were doing at a particular time, one great way to do it is with this activity tab, because I can go in, I can filter by what type, I can filter by tracker, I can actually put in specific dates and times as well, so I can go back and make sure that my trucks or vehicles or assets were where they were supposed to be. Now, one of the ways that that gets used by a lot of our clients can be either A, making sure that your employees are doing a good job and using it as a training tool, or it can also be used in proof of performance, which is something that we talk about. You know, making sure that your clients are getting information that makes sure that their services were rendered. Let's say you run something like a roofing company and your team had an appointment to be at a location at a specific time. Let's say they were contracted to be at this location right here on Sepulveda Boulevard in California at 12:15 p.m. Well, you could theoretically send this trip card to one of your clients and say they arrived at 12:12, they were on time, and show them that they made it on time. That's just one of the many uses of the activity tab. It's a great way to break large amounts of data up into more manageable pieces that you can consume a little bit easier. Now, when we take a look at the mobile app, I'm going to show you a completely different way to consume this kind of data, which is time-based rather than event-based. So we're going to clear this off. We just hit hide, and then we hit resume, and it resets the map back to normal. And now we're going to talk about a feature that has a lot of different applications, and it's one of the, I think, most important features and core functions of Spytec GPS to get right when you're first setting up your account, and that's going to be boundaries. So boundaries are, in essence, digital fences that allow you to get information and control what you get when your trackers enter and exit a specific area on the map. So if I scroll down here, I'm going to select Warehouse Q. So these two shapes that you see here, this blue polygon, for lack of a better term, and this red square, represent active boundaries. If any of the 10 devices on my account that you're seeing here go in or out of this area, I will get notifications about that. Now, what does this get you? What does this allow you to do? Well, one of the big use cases for this is something like theft prevention, more importantly, theft recovery. If I'm monitoring here at side lot 7 trucks overnight and nobody should be moving, but I get a notification on my phone at 10 p.m. that one of my trucks left the boundary side lot, I'm going to investigate that immediately because I know that that is a situation that the tracker has left an area unauthorized outside of my normal hours. So I'm going to investigate it right away. Now, I do really quickly want to go in here and show you how to create a new boundary. You simply tap Create a New Boundary. You can drag and drop a generic circular boundary. It can be resized. But the most common usage, one of our most popular usages, is actually going in here and custom drawing a boundary. And we can actually start clicking, and each click corresponds with a new spot in the boundary. Then to close it off, we click back on that first dot, and there we go. We've got our new boundary. And again, this is a lot about making sure that the platform is able to give you information when you don't necessarily have to watch it. So in this instance, where we've got warehouse queue and side lot, these two areas are going to be monitored. Whether I have the application open or whether I have it closed, any interaction with these spots is going to be recognized. We talked a little bit about the theft prevention, theft recovery, but it's also great if you're a company that does job site work, if you're going to different locations, if you're doing deliveries. You know, you can set up those delivery addresses or those work site addresses in the application. You'll get a notification when your guys leave the main yard and when they arrive at the customer or job site location. So you're going to be able to stay on top of that, again, while you get on with your busy day. These notifications will come whether you're in the app or not. Now, it's a great segue to head into some of our settings here, and notifications are a big part. So in the settings menu, you have the basic account settings, which are things like your username, password, and the address. Then you have alerts and notifications, and this is one of the major core functions that I think is a must when you're trying to use Spytec GPS. So the way that I like to think of it is alerts are the information that we're going to look for, and notifications are how we're going to tell you when something happens. And I'm just going to quickly run through the notifications and alerts that we have. So on the notification side, we can do mobile, which is a push notification to a mobile device. We can do web alerts, which happen in a browser window. Then we can do raw text and raw email, which are purely text message, purely email. They are not correlated to our actual platform, to our actual software. And those can be used in any combination, so you can use one of them or both of them or all of them or none of them on a particular alert. Now, the types of alerts that we have are speeding. So again, one reminder about our alerts and notifications is they are universal. So if I set a speeding alert, it does apply to every device on my platform. And speeding is custom configurable, so I can set it to where I need. So maybe if I'm running a business where my guys spend all of their time in a neighborhood and they shouldn't be doing over 40, I'm going to set the speed limit to 40 miles per hour, and the platform will let me know, and it'll tell me which tracker, it'll tell me where it happened, and it'll tell me when it happened that device exceeded the specified speed limit. Then we've got SOS, which is actually a very unique alert. It only applies to our GL300 line of trackers, and it involves the SOS button on the front. The reason why I think this is unique is it's one of the few alerts that requires physical manipulation. It's going to require somebody to push that button on the tracker in order for you to get the notification. It's mostly designed around lone worker scenarios if you've got somebody out on a job site alone, but it can be leveraged in a multitude of different ways, and that's an exciting thing that we're exploring for the future. Now, the next is arguably the most important notification for a lot of our users, and that's low battery. You know, our battery-powered trackers are very flexible and very versatile, but knowing what your battery charge level is at so you minimize downtime is absolutely vital. And dialing in this low battery notification is just going to really help make sure that your business is running efficiently and staying with that visibility. You're not going to have a lot of downtime, so you're not charging during the day. A lot of times I'll have customers configure that a little higher than what I've got it at, 10%, because you want to make sure you have time to recover that device and get it charged before it dies fully. Then we've got boundary entry and exit, which we talked about when we looked at the boundaries themselves. What I like about these alerts, though, is that you know if it's an entry or an exit. It's two separate notifications, so you don't have to guess if they're coming or going. You can look right at that notification. Then we've got a movement alert. This one is really popular as well. Now, it can be triggered by accident if the GPS device is losing a little signal and it's having GPS drift. But for the most part, this is going to be the most immediate notification that one of your assets, let's say we have this on something that shouldn't be moving, if I get a movement notification, that's going to be the most immediate way that I know if it has moved. Let's say we're tracking generators on work sites that do not leave the area, and I, again, at midnight get a notification that generator 7 has left work site 4, I'm going to investigate that right away. I'm going to be getting in contact with either my security on site or local law enforcement. I'm going to try to recover that missing generator. And that's a really popular device, or a popular alert, I'm sorry. Then we have ignition on and ignition off. I have this disabled because it only applies to certain devices. It does not apply to our battery devices. It only applies to units that are wired directly to vehicles. And that's because it's measuring the voltage change when the car is started. And that's exactly what it does. It tells you when the vehicle gets started. It tells you when they turn it off. If you're managing a fleet, this can be useful to see if guys are maybe running the car when they're having lunch and wasting a little bit of gas. And little things like that can help you optimize over time. And something as small as that over scale can really add up to a lot of money back in your pocket. Then we've got a couple of alerts that are more based around processing in the back end rather than actual movement. So trip in progress and trip end are about the calculation of activities in the platform. Is your tracker's trip finished, or is your tracker's stop finished, so I can go read the information about them? It's less about the actual trip happening and less about the trip ending and more about the platform finishing calculating. Then we've got two exciting alerts that I really like a lot. And that's going to be trip exceeds distance and trip exceeds duration. Now, the reason why these two alerts are, I think, very important is because it allows you to set a conditional, and it's a conditional that is affected by another element in the platform. So in this case, the tracker needs to be moving consistently for more than 99 miles for me to get this alert. Or it needs to be moving consistently for more than 8 hours for me to get this alert. And that can be an effective way to monitor many devices or many assets, many trucks over a long period of time. And I think that's a really, really impressive alert, and one that is sort of pointing us in the way where alerts are going to go in the future as we continue to evolve and grow. Now, also down here at the bottom, you can add in additional recipients to text and email alerts that do not have access to your platform. Now, speaking of adding people to your platform, that brings us to the next most important thing, in my opinion, on the web application, and that is user roles. So, when you have access to your account, when you sign up, you are the account owner. You can do anything, change billing, add trackers, change information about your devices, and you can see every tracker. But you might need to add somebody new to your device, and we're just going to put in a random email address here, and we're going to hit invite user. Now, okay, and we're going to select a role. So you've got an admin role. Now, an administrator has the same rights and privileges as an account owner. They can see all the trackers, they can change things, they can add additional users. They can do a lot of things when they're created and brought into the account. So this is going to be somebody like one of your operations managers, maybe a site manager, somebody who you trust who's going to be doing a lot of work in the platform for you. Then below that, we have a collaborator role. The first thing that we have is a collaborator who can see everything. Now, collaborators can't change things. That's the big difference. Think of it almost as a view-only account. And this version, with that radio button selected there, are able to see everything. But you might even need a collaborator role where they can only see a certain number of trackers. Well, we can go in here and let's say they only need to see the bottom 3. If I select that and invite this user, they won't know that these other 7 trackers are that they even exist. They will only see these 3 devices. So this is a really good way to embed the system and get it working with your organization. One of the ways that I often have talked about this, and one of the ways that I like to visualize and illustrate the usage for user roles, is in a retail situation. Let's say you work for a company that sells large pallets of building materials and lumber, and you're using that to track it on your retail locations. Well, you as the account owner need to see everything. But below that, you might have district managers who only need to see the 20 trackers at their 3 stores. And then below that district manager, you might have the store managers who only need to see the 5 trackers at each one of their individual stores. And by limiting that data flow, not only are you sort of keeping data integrity safe, but you're also not hitting your employees and workers with information overload. You're not giving them more than they need to see, which is a really important thing. And I think user roles is a really, really powerful tool because it allows you to sort of disperse the knowledge that you can get from your GPS platform to everyone in your organization without sort of bottlenecking and without it having to come to a single person, which can definitely be a challenge. All right, so the next thing I want to take a look at is tracker customization. Now here on this page, you can actually go in and you can customize the name and the description of your devices as well as changing the shape and color of the icon. Now the reason why this is important, especially the name and the description, is because that's how any alert and notification will refer to a tracker. So let's say this device that we're looking at right now starts speeding. My notification will say GMC truck number 47 is speeding. It won't say the IMEI. It won't say Tracker 5. It'll say the name that I give it. So it's important to give it very specific names so you know exactly what it's talking about. You know, GMC truck number 47 means a lot more than Tracker 6. So that's a real key when you're getting going with your account. And then the same thing with the shape and the color of the icon. Batching them together, so going back to our retail story we were just thinking about, if we color and code all of our trackers the same color if they're at the same store, that's a really easy way visually for me as the account owner to log in and say, okay, all the red ones are that store, the blue ones are this store, and the green ones are this store. So it's, again, that increasing that at-a-glance visibility, that at-a-glance usability when you're on the platform. Now, our last bit of settings, and one of the last things we're going to talk about on the web application, is actually just the generic platform settings. Here you can roll through the time zones, set it to your appropriate one. We've got map styles. We've got satellite map mode, which is the most popular, and that's using static satellite imagery like Google Earth. And then we've got dark, light, and monochromatic. Me personally, I'm colorblind, so I'm partial to the monochromatic, but the most popular by far is satellite. Then we've got distance units, which is just simply what measurements the platform is going to use when it's measuring distance. Similarly with miles per hour and kilometers per hour, and you can set your home page. Do you want to land on trackers, activity, boundaries, or reporting? That segues us into the last thing we're going to focus on here on the web app, and that is our reports. So currently we have 4 available reports, and these can all be exported as CSV files or viewed here on our app. The 4 reports are alerts, which show you every generated alert by your GPS devices. As we dig in right here, you can see we've got trip start, trip finished, we've got a movement score, we've got ignition on off, we've got boundary entry, boundary exit, and we're seeing all of this detailed information. We're seeing which tracker, what type of alert, the details saying like which boundary it entered or how long the trip was, things of that nature. Then we can see the date and the time of the alert and the location. So this is super handy. This is going to be where you dig into that information. Maybe if I want to only take a look at speeding alerts and have a training session with my entire staff, we're going to take a look at all of our speeding alerts in the month of July. We're going to hit apply. I can now have a training session with my staff and say, you know, GMC truck 47 here on Ventura Freeway, you know, you're supposed to keep it under 55 miles per hour, and we're going way too fast here. And so I can turn it into that educational moment, improving my driver performance. And if we can keep things like speed in check, that's going to maybe lower my insurance premiums a little bit, things like that. And that's really where the value of reporting comes from. I mentioned exporting. You simply click the export button up top, and it'll export 5,000 records at a time as a CSV file, which is very, very valuable. Now, if we go back to the reporting tab, we also have the boundary activity report, which shows you all entrances and exits into a boundary, as you see right here. Then we have also got the tracker activities, which is probably the most handy report in my honest opinion. That's showing all of your completed trips and stops in a list formation. Ooh, what a treat. We've got a little, this is a live account with live trackers. And this is a web alert that just came in showing us a boundary exit right here. So that's exciting. That's very exciting stuff. But what I mean about using this report right here, the tracker activity report, is I can go in and filter, and I can say, show me trips, again for the month of July, any tracker, but I want to only see them over 10 miles to 100 miles. So that's the only thing I want to see. I'm going to hit apply. So now I'm only looking at specific trips that happened in the month of July that were at least 10 miles, but no more than 100 miles. So that's going to let me dig in and see that detailed information that's going to maybe help me optimize my business. Maybe if I've got 3 delivery trucks and I see that one of them is consistently driving 5 miles a day, the other one's doing 65 miles a day, I might need to rotate which truck is on that to minimize those maintenance costs, right? We can lower the mileage between the two by sharing that larger load, and this would be a great way to see if that's something that's happening. Now, the last report I want to take a look at is the tracker positions report, and that is a report that generates and shows off every single position report that comes in from all of your devices. Now, my word of warning about this report is it gets very, very large. We have a device here, this GMC47 is set to 5-second updates. So that means it's reporting its location every 5 seconds when it's moving. That means that it's sending 12 reports a minute. So if you go on a 2-hour drive, you can imagine how many individual reports come in and how big this report can get. So just keep that in mind. But it is great for digging into those details. It shows you the tracker, the date, the time, the GPS date and time, which that is a phenomenon where a device may get a message, but it loses a signal, and so it sends the message later. You would see a difference in this time right here. We've got the coordinates, the address, the speed, and the odometer reading from all of those position reports, so it's a very handy report. Now, before we dive into the features of the mobile app and the demo overview, I want to quickly discuss where the apps are available. So we have an iOS app, which is what you see here, available on the App Store. Then we have an Android app, which is available on the Google Play Store. Those are going to be the two ways to acquire the mobile app. And again, I highly recommend the mobile app to be used. It, to me, is the most sort of immersive, best experience that you're going to have, especially in day-to-day operations. So if we take a look, we're landing on the exact same sort of home screen as we do on the web application. The main map is still showing us that most recent known location of all of our devices. We do handle the clustering a little bit different. As you can see, we've got the 5 with the icon representing that there are trackers underneath. So if I tap the 5, it zooms us in and shows us more trackers in detail. If I tap the 2, it's going to zoom us in until those two separate. So again, it's a nice, easy way to show a lot of trackers on the map without it being cluttered up by the icons until you need it to be. Up at the top, we have our quick filtering options. We've got moving, stopped, online, offline, low battery, critical battery, dead battery, or charging. That's going to let you change which trackers are being shown at any given time. Also down at the bottom, one of the real core features, in my opinion, about the mobile app is the tracker list. So if I swipe up, I'm going to see individual listings with the most recent known location and a live mini-map of all of my devices. That's going to be super, super handy, especially if you're trying to manage more than a handful of little trackers. You can also search for which tracker you want to take a look at here, similarly to the search bar on the web application. So we're going to get back to our main map and our main menu here, and I want to show some of the filtering options that we have on these on the main map. So if we tap in, we can show the filter of moving, stopped, online, or offline. We can show no historical activity and just trackers, or we can actually show the history, we'll take a look at the last 24 hours, of all of our devices on the map. And if I zoom in, you can see now shown on the map is all of the historical activity and all the trips and stops that these trackers went on during the last 24 hours. So that's a good way to get a quick view at the historical activity without diving into too much detail. I can also filter again by those battery statuses, or I can simply select which trackers are shown on the map at a given time. I can overlay traffic and weather. I can change my map style between all the types right there as well. So again, that lets you filter that view and tailor that view down to exactly what you need it to be. Now, if I go back in, I'm going to hit reset, and we should get back to the main filtered view. And now we can see all of our 10 trackers are back. So that's a really handy way to be able to filter that view and limit what data is being shown and only see what you need to see on the mobile application. Now we're going to go back into this tracker list because there is a bit of an embedded menu in the mobile application, ways that you can flow from one item to another, and I kind of want to talk about that. So if we're looking at the GMC truck number 47 here, you see those 3 dots to the right side of that listing? If we tap that, it's going to bring us up a menu with a lot of really cool options of things that we can do directly from here. We've got Get Directions, View in Time Machine, which we'll discuss Time Machine in just a minute, View Recent Activities, View Alerts, Share, and Settings. Now I want to focus first on Get Directions. If I tap that, it is going to navigate my mobile device to the most recent known location of that tracker. Now, in this case, they're side by side, so it's showing right next to each other, but this can be invaluable if you're trying to locate something maybe parked on a lot or an asset that's in your big storage yard. Now, the next thing I want to focus on is the sharing option. So if I hit share, I can now, say via email, send an email to an outside source that sends that most recent known location with a time and date stamp and an approximate address to anybody. So this can be great if I need to share an arrival of a delivery with somebody who isn't there to sign for the delivery that they need to. Or maybe it's a job site and I need to share with the GM, the foreman of my job site that, hey, my delivery guy with all the tiling that's going to go on this roof did arrive. He's there right now. Here's where he is. So again, really valuable information, and I'm going to discard that draft and get us back to the main page. Really valuable information in a really interesting way that we can dig into that activity. Now, if I minimize our tracker list, down at the bottom we have our bottom menu. The second option that we see there is called Time Machine. Now, on the web app, we talked about how we consume things by event, by activity. Well, Time Machine lets you consume things by a time frame. I'm actually going to reset our filters, and we're going to hit Start Over. And what Time Machine lets you do is select a day and a time. So we're going to take a look at Monday, July the 18th from 12 a.m. all the way to 11:59 p.m., which will give us the entirety of that day. And we're going to take a look at just one tracker. We're going to take a look at GMC, truck number 47, and we're going to hit Go Back in Time. And what this is going to do is curate the entire day of that Monday thus far. Now this one, so far, it's only 11:58 where I'm at, so we're only taking a look at the first half of the day, but I can already see some statistics here. It's been stopped for most of the day. It was moving for 6 minutes. It's only traveled a mile. But if I start scrolling through this, we're actually going to see it as it moves through that period of time, as it moved around today. Now, one of the things that I think is really interesting and really handy is once you start moving, say you see something that is a bit abnormal. Let's say right there, this position is odd to me. You can actually click and go to a feature that we call Position Snapshot, which is a zoomed in view, a slice of time, letting you see that history right here. We can see the speed, the directional heading, we can see the nearby places, we can see the weather conditions that were all at that exact time. More importantly, I can navigate to this location. In the exact same way that we used to get directions to navigate to the tracker's location, I can also navigate to this point in that tracker's history. So it really lets you, trace your steps, and if you need to go back and reroute to a similar location, you can definitely do that. We can also share this position snapshot as well, so it's another really handy thing. And I can view this tracker live if I need to directly from the minimap. So again, a lot of really interesting information on Time Machine. Time Machine allows you to look at a 24-hour period of time. You can, if you wanted to, add in even more trackers. So now we're looking at the totals of all 4 of our trackers. They've been moving a little bit. They've covered 4 miles. And you can tap through each individual one, and you can see that information about each individual tracker as you tap through. So here we can now take a look at, these don't have any activity, but this one does, and it takes us right back to it. So again, it's the ability to flick through this data and visualize it on a map and look at it by time. This is going to show you all of the events, all of the activities that take place in the given time frame. You're not looking at it broken up. This is a much more complete picture of the historical activity. I like to think of it, the live tracking, this menu here, is the sort of yin to the yang that is Time Machine. It's everything that happened up until right now, whereas this is this moment in time. The live tracking is right now. Now, if we click on activities, this is going to be very similar to the activities report in the web application. It is going to be historical activity broken up into events, and you can do a lot of similar things here. We can view this in Time Machine. I can get directions to the start or the finish, or I can share a trip. But if I just click on the trip listing, it's going to visualize the trip in the map as a static piece. This is not able to be scrolled through. I can't look at the individual positions if I wanted to, but if I needed to do that, I can actually go to View in Time Machine, and now I'm looking at that exact same trip in Time Machine, I can scroll through it, I can dig into these individual things. So again, the mobile app is a lot about getting into and utilizing the ability to dig into deeper details. That's one of the major features of the mobile app, is I can look at big picture things like this activity listing, or I can look at smaller scale, more immediate things where I can dig into that detailed data like Time Machine. Now we also have the ability to search on here, and that's a really handy thing that we talked about at length a little bit in the web app. It's the same thing here on mobile. It allows you to filter that view down and see specifically what you want to see. Now in our menu here, one of the big things that we have in mobile that is not available in web is we do have a QR code scanner. So if I tap into that, it's going to leverage my phone's camera. And here, if I put my tracker in front, it's going to pick up, scan that barcode, and bring up the tracker that I am talking about. This is that particular tracker. So now, let's say I need to rename it and I need to put it onto something else. I can tap into the settings, and we're going to tap and rename this tracker. 2022 demo, and the description, well, I can't spell, we're going to say demo, and the description will put which tracker it is. It's GL300. And then we can hit save. And that is going to be our new device now. And if we zoom in, we've got, there it is, 2022 demo. So we were able to really quickly and easily figure out this tracker, scan it, bring up its information, and rename it to something else. Now, some of our most common use cases for that particular item is if you're replacing trackers. Let's say you've got a lot of material and assets moving through your storage yard, but you don't want 1,000,000 trackers. You only need the 50, and you just put them on different assets. Being able to quickly scan in the field, rename on your mobile device, and then put it onto the new asset is invaluable. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to eliminate a lot of human error. You don't have to key in that 15-digit IMEI at all. You can simply go in, scan it, and then take a look. So that's sort of a quick overview, a quick look here at the mobile application. You've also got the alerts that are shown. We've got some account settings. You can adjust some style issues. You can message our Help Center, chat with us right here from the app as well. But this is a quick look at the mobile application. Again, this is what I recommend you use most of the time when you're simply wanting to monitor your activity. And just like any mobile application, it's going to give you those push notifications too, so you don't even have to have the app open to receive those invaluable little snippets of data. Well, thanks so much, guys. I hope this demo has shown you a little bit of the capability of Spytec GPS, whetted your appetite a little bit. Please hop on our website, reach out to your sales reps, reach out to us, and we'll get you taken care of and get you set up with the perfect solution that you need, whether it's for asset tracking, fleet tracking, employee monitoring, whatever your needs may be. We have a problem. We have an ability to solve that problem for you. Again, I'm TJ Chastain. Thanks so much for watching.